In the intriguing world of medieval times, monasteries held a unique position as centers of devotion, humility, and spiritual service to God. Regardless of whether they were men's or women's monasteries, the rules, routines, and restrictions apply to all equally. However, beneath the surface, some nunneries in particular deviated from the expected path of righteousness and became hot of indulgence and revelry. Each European country had its own distinct tales to tell in this regard. Join us on a fascinating journey into the scandalous moments that unfold within the monasteries of medieval Europe. Let's start with the scandals in Great Britain. One of the most notorious monasteries in Britain, with a rather checkered history, is the Littlemore Abbey. Ever since its completion in the 12th century, it has been plagued by curses and unsettling rumors. Initially, the nuns were known to fervently pray, hoping that the ceiling wouldn't collapse on them. However, as time went on, their fears subsided and tales of a more scandalous nature started circulating in the vicinity. It seems that the nuns would invite travelers, pilgrims, and knights to spend the night only to charge exorbitant fees for their services. By 15th century, the nunnery had transformed into a hub of sexual promiscuity, theft, and other unsavory activities. Young men were enticed by the nuns and found themselves engaged in orgies within their cells. To make matters worse, many of these unfortunate souls discovered their money and valuables mysteriously disappearing. The nuns even resorted to selling church possessions to fund their insatiable thirst. Was the reign of Abbess Catherine Wells. She subjected the nuns to beatings, starvation, and various forms of humiliation, including sadomasochistic practices. Desperate for sustenance, some of the girls were compelled to sell themselves to earn money for food. Astonishingly, the abbess herself openly lived with a priest and even bore him a child. Nuns who enjoyed the abbess' favor openly cohabitated with men without any tents, and some were even pregnant when the bishop conducted an inspection. This inspection, conducted in 1517, was prompted by the escalating rumors, and Bishop William Atwater was compelled to send his representative, Edmund Ord, to investigate the situation. The priest was appalled to find that much of the abbey's land had been moored or sold off by the abbess paramour. Moreover, when the priest arrived to conduct the investigation, the abbess would hand over her child to the nuns as if hiding the evidence. The investigation revealed that several nuns who had been confined in stocks by the abbess had managed to break free rebel against Catherine Wells and establish a new life in a nearby village. Notably, all four of them found companionship with gentlemen. The evidence gathered was so damning that the bishop ordered the dissolution and closure of the convent, and the abbess was charged with nymphomania, drunkenness, theft, and adultery. The esteemed nuns of Italy had a different reputation compared to their counterparts in Great Britain. While theft and the sale of church goods were not recorded among them, their activities within the walls of the nunneries were truly remarkable. In some instances, certain monasteries in Italy transformed into secretive brothels concealed by their sturdy walls. For example, in Venice, nuns would wear loose-fitting dresses with only their necklines covered during church services. This alluring attire attracted numerous individuals, desiring the effect of a beautiful nun in her distinctive attire. The abaxis were occupied with finding suitable arrangements for their visitors. Alexander Perthes aptly described this phenomenon in his book, The Life and Work of Baltasar Costa, Pope John XXIII. The moral standards regarding clothing in the nunneries were not overly strict, emphasizing the natural beauty and gracefulness of the nuns. Male visitors were welcomed in almost all monasteries throughout Italy. Spain, on the other hand, also had its unique characteristics, as the character of the nuns in Spanish convents varied depending on the visitor's perceptions. These visitors often assigned names to the monastery based on the number and type of services provided, such as the Abbey of Doles or the Abbey of Penitent Magdalens. Although attempts were made in Spain to punish nuns for indulging in debauchery, the number of convicted individuals engaged in such behavior increased dramatically over time. In fact, similar to Great Britain, there are records of monasteries being closed due to the nuns' excessive misconduct. One striking example is the Convent of St. John the Baptist in the city of Bologna, where the authorities were compelled to expel all the nuns and close the monastery. The nuns from the monastery of St. Leonard were placed under the supervision of the monastery of St. Levertius. In Germany, known for its disciplined and orderly nature, authorities made earnest efforts to curb the rampant immorality in some monasteries. Unlike in other countries, German authorities dealt severely with nuns involved in such activities. In the Swabian Jura, the Nuns Abbey, which had turned into a real brothel, saw clients visiting day-night to partake in intimate encounters with the affectionate nuns. Duke Julius of Braunschweig, a patron and donor supporting the monastery financially, ultimately decided to bring an end to this sexual misconduct. He personally ordered the Mother Superior to be walled up alive. The German church authorities conducted both surprise and planned inspections of monasteries, often revealing startling results. For instance, at the Cephalingen Abbey, a majority of the nuns were found to be pregnant. Another intriguing case is the so-called brothel for the nobility, and officially known as the Obendorf Monastery in Tallinn, where noble and wealthy citizens exclusively visited, and the inhabitants included around 20 nuns of aristocratic descent. A favorite pastime in this abbey was abruptly extinguishing the lights during feasts, allowing visitors and keepers to engage in sexual encounters with whomever they encountered in the darkness. In an attempt to discourage promiscuous visitors, the authorities took a different approach. They prohibited nuns from entering the city and imposed a fine of 10 guldens on anyone attempting to enter a monastery with sinful intentions. French traditions were characterized not only by the free-spirited nature of the nuns, but also by authentic bacchanalian revelries reminiscent of Roman celebrations. Intoxicated by wine, men and women intertwined in lustful embraces, creating a true spectacle. It was even mentioned that the monasteries of Paris strictly forbade nuns from participating in bacchanalia and orgies. Thanks for watching.